Hey, what's up, friends? Welcome to this very first episode of something I'm going to try out called Chaos at the Movies. The idea is going to be that I'm going to be sitting down watching a army-related movie. It could be a comedy, it could be action, whatever, and either pointing out maybe some kind of, corrections or things that are incorrect about, real-life army, or even just sharing some experiences that are related to what's happening in the movie and kind of elaborating on something that's happening from my experience in the military. Now, there's a chance that this video could get copyright striked. I don't really know how this is going to end up working. I'm only going to be showing certain clips and certain parts of the movie and elaborating on certain things, but we'll see how it goes, I guess. I don't know. But this first movie is probably one of my favorite Army movies, and that is In the Army Now, starring Pauly Shore and Andy Dick. So the movie is about these two guys who want to start their own, I believe it was like a Radio Shack type of store, like an electronic stereo store, and they figure if they join the Army that they can use the bonus money they get and be able to open up their own store, and they figure that if they go in and do something like water purification, it'll be really simple, get in, get out, and then collect their money so they can open up their own stereo store. So I'm going to point out some things that maybe are not correct about things that relate to the Army, as well as maybe share some experience stuff. Now, of course, be advised, I know that a lot of the stuff is done incorrectly for comedy purposes, but we're just going to elaborate on it anyways, so don't beat up on me too hard. I know that a lot of the things are done on purpose just to be comical, not trying to be realistic. This movie is in no way trying to be realistic to things about in the Army, but hopefully, you get a little bit of entertainment out of it and you can see, certain things that are, definitely not the way it is in the Army. So that being said, let's jump right into it and let's watch In the Army Now.
Last time I saved your butt, okay? I work too, you know?
I know, it was an emergency. The guy was about to fire me.
Right, it's always an emergency. They better take that TV back.
So we're going to be skipping ahead a little ways into the movie just to get into some of the Army-related stuff. The first part of the movie kind of just builds a story of, these guys working at this electronics store, and they get busted. He's trying to do this elaborate scheme, and his buddy is messing around with the video camera while he's trying to hook up with his girlfriend behind these monitors, and boss busts them, and they knock over a bunch of TVs and get fired. So that's kind of where it picks up in this one to start getting a little bit into the Army stuff.
I can't believe he actually fired us.
Oh, come on, Bones, we blew up 22 TV sets.
Yeah, but don't those things come with warranty? Excuse me, can we play through? Yeah.
So this movie was done in the 90s, so little things are going to be a lot different compared to like nowadays in the Army. The uniform that these guys are wearing is the Class Bs, which would be the pants, a short sleeve shirt, and then the hat, which is the old school style hat that's not worn anymore. The pants are different now. I'm not even 100% sure if that shirt is still used anymore. I'm not really sure 100% on that one, but these guys are in Class Bs and apparently playing miniature golf. Now the thing with this is that you'll notice on their uniform, they already have the Army service ribbon, so they've already completed basic training in the AIT, so I'm not really sure why they're out in Class Bs unless they were doing some kind of payday activities. Otherwise, normally you don't run around in your Class Bs unless you're doing some kind of official Army stuff, and if they happen to be doing some kind of Army-related recruiting or with like a recruiter or some kind of payday activities, but they're both privates, so it's not anything too business-related. I don't know. I don't understand why they would be out in Class Bs.
Bones, come on,
I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. When you join the Army, is it true that you have to give your whole life away?
Nah, something like that with us.
We're in the reserves.
What's that?
Let's just get this straight here.
So, especially with them being in the reserves, I don't know why they'd be out in Class Bs. You're in the reserves, so if you're actually doing drill, you definitely would be out in Class Bs. You'd probably be out doing some kind of training or something. So that's another part that really wouldn't make sense. But for the story, obviously, they're building the characters to, get an interest in the Army, and this is how they did it. But, I'm just kind of pointing out some stuff.
Basically, yes.
Wow. Well, then how come everybody isn't in the reserves? Do people actually know about this stuff?
Well, we do try to advertise.
Not 100% sure. I'd have to look at it, but I think that guy's recruiting badge is on the wrong side. I think it's on the right side, isn't it? I don't know. Don't quote me, but I want to say I think the recruiting badge should be on the right side of his uniform.
We're be all you can be.
Yeah. In the Army.
So while I was in the Army, we went through 3 different slogans. You had that one, the be all you can be. Then we did Army of One, which that one didn't really last very long. And then now the current one is Army Strong.
Tank turret repair, landmine specialist, water purification? Water purification. That's it.
What?
Water purification. I'm telling you, it's a snap. My brother's a pool man. Hey, look, you take dirty water and you make it clean.
That is a real MOS, by the way, in case anybody's wondering. It is a real MOS of water purification. I knew some guys that did that. I would always be like, oh, have you seen In the Army Now? And there was one guy that I was really good friends with. This is what he did in the Army, and he hadn't seen the movie. I was like, what the heck? This should be like your Bible movie is In the Army Now. It's about water purification, essentially, or someone who joins the Army to be water purification. It was funny, but he'd never seen the movie. This is usually done like on like day 1, day 2 of basic training, is getting a haircut. Very similar way, they usually have like this vacuum hose that's kind of like sucking up all the hair though, just to save on mess.
Right.
Look at these, man. Look at these. Army issued.
See, I think those are unique.
Idiotic.
No, those are unique. See, you're
Really?
distinctive. No one has them.
Really?
You're king.
All right. One of a kind. They broke the mold when they made you, Jack.
So those glasses are commonly known as BCGs, or birth control glasses, because of how horrible they look, and you're not going to be able to score with any ladies wearing those glasses. But those are glasses usually you get issued. You don't get to wear your nice fancy ones that you have your civilian ones. They give you these ones because they're a little bit more durable. They're cheaper, so if you mess them up and break them, it's not a big deal because they're easy to replace. Whereas your civilian ones probably cost several $100s, and these ones are really cheap to make. So those are some common, glasses that you'll be stuck wearing when you're in basic training. These are called the cattle trucks, and this is what's kind of known as the Shark Week, or the Shark Attack.
Bones, I can't do it. Jack, I can't do it, man. I can't do it.
They're just yelling at you, trying to get you off the bus.
Remember?
You're not going to get to wear sunglasses like that, by the way.
Yeah, you're right. That guy is exactly like my dad.
See? Come on.
Don't you understand?
Yes, but you don't need to yell, because look, I'm standing right here.
I'm not yelling at you, Private. Drill sergeants do not yell. We simply speak in a voice loud enough so everyone can hear. That way we all learn from each other's mistakes.
They do yell at you a
Okay,
lot,
thanks for
and yell
explaining it.
often.
It's been a while. Yeah, all the way up and down, right?
Pump!
Whoa! Is that good?
So at this point, he would have already had to have done some kind of pre-PT test that's like a smaller version of the actual PT test. It's not as many push-ups, not as many sit-ups, and it's only like a 1 mile run. So if he couldn't do really any push-ups, or couldn't do enough, which is like, I can't remember, I want to say it's like 10 push-ups, I don't really remember. If he couldn't do that, he would have been stuck in the reception area until he could do that many push-ups before he could move on to this phase. But here he is. So it's also noted that these barracks are almost pretty much exactly the way they were for me when I was in Fort Benning. We didn't have bunk beds. We just had a bunch of rows of beds like this with our wall lockers. These are the old school style PT uniforms that we used to have with these kind of grayish, whitish sweats, which were horrible. They had grass stains like crazy. I hated them. And then later we moved to the gray ones, and then of course now they have like the black ones.
Next man to the lab.
This is how you get into PT formation, is just like that. They will wake you up pretty early in the morning. Sometimes it's just flipping on the lights. Sometimes it's yelling. Sometimes they'll do all sorts of crazy stuff. You got to get up, do your personal hygiene, and then get outside. You probably have like 15, 20 minutes maybe to get outside. And then this is the formation you get inside of to do PT, which is the extended rectangular formation is what it's called. And that's where you do the extend to the left just to get some space in between you and the soldier next to you. And then you'll do some other face-up maneuvers to also make the people behind you have a little bit of space as well. These are what are known as front back goes.
Now
listen to me very carefully, Private. This is exactly the same as practice. But this is a real live grenade. I want you to do exactly as you've been trained.
It's a real thing we had to do. You had to throw 2 grenades, I believe it was.
Drop the pin, throw the grenade.
Yes, Drill Sergeant.
Drop the pin, throw the grenade.
Yes, Drill Sergeant.
Execute.
You'd be in some big trouble probably if you did something like that.
Is this, Unit 341?
That's us, soldier.
Hey, Bones Conway here. This is my partner, Jack.
Hi, Christine.
Nice to meet you. Look like we'll be working together.
So at this point, they're now an AIT for being a water purification specialist. It's not quite this relaxed. They make it look like it's just like a college class or something like that. It would still be a lot more organized, especially like very beginning. You know, people are still really new, not sure what to expect, and you're pretty kind of, you know, scared a little bit because you're not sure if this is as strict as basic training was, and it starts lightening up a little bit later as you go along, but you still have a lot more organization than this. It wouldn't be quite this relaxed.
You okay, Fred?
Oh, man, I'm fine, yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
He's also got a unit patch on right there. You wouldn't have any patches yet because you're just in a schoolhouse still. You're not going to start wearing patches until you get to your very first unit. And he's already got one here, but nobody would have any unit patches.
Hold that thought. Somebody better be dead. Hello?
This is an official message. I saw a flock of wild geese migrating south. I say again, the geese are migrating south.
Yeah, well, my goose is about to lay a golden egg. So you're gonna have to cruise the south solo, okay? Have a nice flight. Look, you saw the goose, I'm the walrus, and tall is dead, and I'm trying to bury my beak here, so give it a rest.
All right, that's it.
Jack, get the phone. Who is it? Some freak going on about wild geese migrating.
Bones! Which way?
Who cares?
North or south?
South.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
What?
You guys, don't you remember? About the code? So that if we got called up for active duty, then we would know that it was for real?
It's gotta be a mistake.
It's gotta be Chad.
So they're not going to call you up with some kind of crazy code or anything like that to try to tell you you're deploying. It's probably going to be, hey, you need to report at this time, at this location, with all your gear. You're going to be deploying. They might not tell you where you're deploying to, but they're probably going to tell you that you're going to be gone for a while, that way you can get finances in order. It may not be like immediate, like you have to report the next day. It may be like in a few days, and if you don't show up, you're AWOL. But it's not going to be some kind of crazy code over the phone. They're flat out going to tell you need to report formation, all your gear, you're deploying.
That's it, Bones. I'm gonna kill you.
Look, you gotta relax here, okay? I'm gonna get us out of this one. Trust me.
I don't understand why his friends had to go with him.
At ease.
Bones and I are very close friends.
Very.
Oh, I see.
So back at this time frame, the Army had this don't ask, don't tell type of policy where if you were gay, then you could get kicked out of the Army. And that no longer is a policy. That policy's gone now. But it would have been essentially a dishonorable discharge. So yeah, it would get them out of going to Chad, but they would also be dishonorably discharged from the Army. Like I said, that's no longer the case. There's actually men and women in the Army that are married to the same sex. But back then they had a strict don't ask, don't tell policy where, you know, they basically wouldn't ask you if you were gay, but if they had any kind of evidence or any kind of, you know, suspicion that maybe you were gay or something, then they could possibly prosecute you and kick you out of the Army.
Just one thing.
Anything.
Kiss him.
Excuse me?
He probably wouldn't make you like
Kiss
prove it or
your
anything like
friend.
that.
You don't have a problem with that, now do you?
They'd probably just be like, all right, you sure you want to do this? This is going to be a dishonorable discharge.
He kisses me every day.
I don't actually know anybody that got actually kicked out of the Army for being gay or anything, so I don't really know the full extent of the process, but pretty sure they wouldn't make you prove it. This line coming up is probably one of my favorite ones from the movie.
Is it hot in Chad?
I love it. I don't know why, but I love it. I'd use that sometimes if I was trying to get out of something and I didn't pull it off. I'd be like, is it hot in Chad? Some people get the joke, but a lot of people wouldn't get the joke.
Have my words fallen upon deaf ears?
Yes, Sergeant! I mean, no, Sergeant.
Don't you know I'm your first sergeant?
Well, actually, I wish you were my first sergeant, but I already had a couple ones already.
Now, by now, he would have gone through basic training, AIT, and he would have had a couple of first sergeants by now. He would have had the first sergeant that was in charge of his unit at basic training, the first sergeant that was in charge of his unit at AIT, plus education that would have taught you about ranks in the Army, so he would have known by now what a first sergeant is. Of course, it's done for comedic purposes in the movie, but in reality, a soldier would already know what a first sergeant was at this point in their career.
Oh, look. Gabrielle tucked in a little note into my duffel bag. Oh. Yeah.
So it would be very unlikely during this time that these four individuals would get their own tent to themselves. They're going to cram as many soldiers as they can into this tent. Also during this time frame, you would not have men mixed with women, as you have that other female that is with them in this tent. It's a little bit relaxed, a little bit more nowadays, I believe, but back then in the 90s, you would not have men and women mixed together in a tent, and they definitely wouldn't have that much room to themselves.
You better call 911, get an ambulance, find a doctor, order a toe tag, because I'm going to tear off your head and spit down your neck. Do you understand me, boy? Ah!
Hey. You have to relax a little. Take it easy. We're in the middle of a war, and we're on the same side.
So, minus the fact that he's a special forces guy, you definitely would not be talking to a staff sergeant like that. Just even with him being, he could be anything. He could be a cook. He could be, finance person. It doesn't matter that he's special forces. He's a staff sergeant, and you would have, especially with Pauly Shore in this being a private first class, he would, pretty much get really chewed out for talking to a staff sergeant like that.
Damn it. Forget it. They're going to send a tow truck.
So they definitely would not leave these guys just alone, no security, and come back for them later. They would probably just most likely stay in place, call for support, and there would be either they would self-recover or a tow truck would come to with a whole another convoy with their own security to bring these trucks back or fix them or whatever they got to do. But they would definitely not just be leaving them alone, and definitely not without some kind of security along with them. These guys have no security. They're also not in full battle rattle. They would be wearing their vests, their Kevlar helmet. They wouldn't just be walking around with soft caps like this. So that's definitely also not the way it would be.
I'm gonna find you the biggest bottle of champagne in Chad.
Yeah, well, don't pop the cork yet. The bomb's missed.
The base wasn't hit. You better send another airstrike here and send it fast.
Pretty sure it wouldn't have been celebrating right away. They would have asked for some kind of BDA to say, hey, the target's been eliminated or it needs another run or whatever. You wouldn't just automatically start celebrating. You would ask, what's the BDA or whatever, which is the battle damage assessment. So there's probably no reason why these Apaches have to fly that low. Apaches can actually hit their targets from very far away. A lot of times the enemy doesn't even know that they're in the sky. They're usually able to hit them from pretty far away, from up pretty high. So there's no real reason for them to have to fly that low to attack these targets. But for, the purpose of the movie, make it look cool so they see the Apaches coming in, they're flying low. But in reality, they probably do this from a little ways back.
Congratulations. You did an outstanding job.
It wasn't a job, First Sergeant. It was an adventure.
I don't know why on earth they would be saluting the First Sergeant. That's always a puzzle to me as well. He's an enlisted soldier. He's a First Sergeant. There's no real reason to salute him other than if you're just doing it just for the fun of it all, I guess. But I doubt it. I doubt you'd be doing that. And he's a First Sergeant. He's not an officer. Why on earth they would go out of their way to bring this camel to him beats the heck out of me. So it's already pretty unbelievable that they would bring the camel out of where they were at back to their fob. It's even more unbelievable that they would bring that camel all the way from another country back to the United States. But for the purpose of the movie, it makes sense, I guess. But in reality, there's no way you're going to get to bring that pet back with you. Again, why are they saluting each other? They're both enlisted. So there you go. That's In the Army Now. One of my favorite Army movies, I think. A lot of things here and there that definitely are not accurate. A lot of them done for comedic purposes, but if you're curious as to what was accurate, what wasn't accurate, there's not really much of anything. There's very few things that are really accurate. Matter of fact, there's a lot of things that are inaccurate, but it makes for good comedy, I guess. All right, so there you go. That was me watching In the Army Now and pointing out some stuff here and there. What do you think of the movie? Do you hate the movie because it got Pauly Shore? I know a lot of people usually do, but do you like the movie In the Army Now? What movie would you like me to check out and maybe point out some stuff? Make sure to leave those down in the comments. If you liked the video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you want to check out some of my other videos, I got a couple of suggested ones right over there. And of course, if you're not already subscribed to my channel and you want to see more of my content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. I'm ThatChrisChaos, and I'll see you next time. See ya.